Good afternoon. Hello, howdy, and hello. This is episode 10 of the Synaptic Circle. I'm your host, Heidi Pop, and I love to synchronize synapses with fellow like minds based on a common theme or thread. And this is the time where I go to the chat and I thank Geryl and Jane for moderating my channel. However, they're here. Hello, Geryl and Jane. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having us. And we're still watching the chat just in case.
Okay. Yeah. Because I get so much riffraff at my channel. There's so many hoodlums. But hello to the chat. Hi, Paranormal Pixie. I see you there. Chastity, I saw you earlier there. Castle Dude, what's shaking? Well, I loved seeing Geryl and Jane. You were just on Castle Dude. It was So thank you for being here. Our common theme, our thread. I mean, we have the paranormal in common. We have, those experiences, but there's something else in common that we're probably going to keep circling back to today, and that's the Midwest. And I've been calling this Midwest guidance because shout out to our friend Terrence B, who made our intro there. It was through Terrence B, Truth Seekers, that I met Geryl, and we did a couple lives together. And then I started connecting with both of you. And you guys have been giving me support and guidance. I mean, we're going to see all your pals in the chat here who've been coming to support me now. And it's been this like unconditional love. And I'm like, that's the Midwest blood. I'm telling you. Yep. So the hard work and support, I just feel connects back to that. So, I mean, yeah, so that's going to be, I guess, our circle around, as well as all the other fun stuff. Hi, Roger Blair. How are you? Speaking of someone I met in your chat. Howdy. And let's, but before we do that, so you both are of Midwest Night Watchers. You also, though, Jane, I see you surrounded by your beautiful instruments, and you are Chiro Sounds. You do a lot. You have your own music channel. So maybe tell us a little bit about that first. You both can say something nice about yourself.
All right. Well, it started out with singing bowls, and then I ended up getting some tongue drums, Native American flutes, and then I got drums. Then I got a hand pan, and then Geryl found a cool website with gongs, so we were listening to all the gongs. We had to buy a couple gongs, so I just started collecting more instruments, and that is my Chiro Sounds. I like to do just meditative, calming music, ease people's minds, do a lot of healing.
Yay. I probably need that to calm me down, huh? I'm in the summer swirl. You've been playing it sometimes too, though, with your live camera, haven't you? They have a 24/7 live camera of their property. That's where you catch a lot of the orbs and sightings, but also the animal and wildlife and your farm animals you have. Speaking of which, let's talk about a goat, Mr. Geryl's shirt.
Yeah.
And a special thing.
Shirt is just because of the Midwest, and I grew up a Chicago Cubs fan because of my family, all the way back to my parents and great parent. You know, they were all, the grandparents were in it, and on mom's side and dad's side both. So when they were out in the fields, they had to listen to the radio, while the women, when they brought lunch, had to tell them what the score of the game was, because they couldn't always get reception out in the field, you know. So it's a long lineage of Chicago Cub fans, and it's just basically, my dad always told me, you know, you should root for the team that's closest to you. What, you know, whether it's Chicago or, you know, the Bears, the Blackhawks. So we all went with Chicago, even though St. Louis and all them are close too. But you know, we went with the home teams, and that's the way we are. And that's the way we've been with colleges too. You know, with the Lion Eye and all them, and goats just happen to fit right in with me and Jane also, because we have goats and we have chickens, and
you have the whole lot of them, and you have cameras on them, so we can see how they're doing and how they're handling the heat and the winter and all of that. And they're good guardians for your property too, probably, huh?
Yeah, and we had we bought a lot of cameras over time. Obviously, we didn't buy them all at once, but we have some of our favorite cameras that we really like. So they're like the best ones. They have the best zoom, the best coverage, and all that stuff. So the goat cameras, we didn't think we needed a great thing, but everybody just loves the goats so much.
Yeah,
when we're inside. So we're going to slowly replace them with better cameras. So you'll get more high definition and better lighting in the in the barn to see the goats. So there might be a
Nice.
goat channel coming up that'll be 24/7.
Yeah, that'd be
awesome.
cool.
That would be awesome. And if anyone is under a rock like I was when I was like, is that the Ghostbuster sign? We have a little thing about Ghostbusters, and then tell us about a little more about your shirt though, Geryl.
Yeah, so this shirt I bought it back when the Cubs was getting ready in our lifetime, get ready to go to the World Series, and there was always that stigma about the story where the man back in the day when Babe Ruth and all them were active, the guy would the whole farmer would bring in a goat on a leash as a mascot for the Cubs, believe it or not. And they ended up kicking him out of the park because they didn't want the goat there no more, and they thought it was a nuisance, having a goat in the ball diamond, So on his way out, he said the Chicago Cubs will never win a World Series. And I believe it was 100 years, and they won right after that 100 years. So that's why these shirts came out. And I ain't afraid of no goats.
And today
is the anniversary of Ghostbusters. So it kind of almost fits a little bit. The symbol almost looks the same, but
oh wow.
Yeah. It was totally.
So not only does the Chicago Cubs and this shirt and Ghostbusters all have ties to Chicago in the Midwest.
Yay. Now I was Chi-Town girl, definitely a Chi-Town girl. I started going down there young for acting classes and things, but I went to DePaul, and then I was a Wrigley girl. I worked at Smuggler and High Tops, and then I worked the rooftops when Cubby Bear had their rooftops. But it was when I was what was I? What's it called? The greeter, the hostess at an Italian mob restaurant off Halstead. That Mark Grace, the Cub Mark Grace, he was that was my first stalker. That's before cell phones.
When he was in the farm team, which was actually in Peoria, close to us. It's only 40 minutes away. Mark was there on the farm team, played, so you could go there and watch them with the other people, and they always got pulled up, whether it was Mark Grace or any of the other players that started off in Peoria, Illinois.
Isn't that cool? I think he coaches now too. I think he's out there again coaching. Yeah. That was funny. I don't think I had even a pager yet. Yeah, I think I had a pager. But he called my parents' home line looking for me once. And I go, tell him I'm not here, Dad. He's like, but it's Mark Grace. Like, Dad, he had a chick in the front and a chick in the bar. And he's like, oh, okay, never mind. I was like, Chicago has my heart. A lot of my family, my last living relative just left Elmhurst. So, that's where Mom was born and raised, and relatives. We have relatives in Tinley Park. I went to Barrington High School. I was born out there by Rockford. And I realized you're about 2 hours from there. You guys are about 2.5 hours just south of there.
Yep.
My question to you, how'd you meet? I don't think I've seen that on other shows.
Oh, how did we meet?
Yeah, how did you guys
I'll
meet?
let Jane tell that story.
Oh my!
And hi, Robert. I see you all.
That's an interesting
Bo wants
story.
to know too.
All right, Bo, I'll tell it. Well, this is my third marriage, and after the second divorce, I was in my late 20s. I was a single mom for 12.5 years, raising my 3 kids, and I took them to church every Sunday. And Sunday night and Wednesday night. And I was a worship leader during that time. And I dated a few guys during that time. They ended up being typical idiots. And so I just went, you know what? I was raised by the single mom, raising 4 of us kids. I can do it too. I gave up. I said, that's it. I am done. I'm not even going to date. I don't care if they beg me. I'm done. And if I'm meant to be with someone, he's going to walk through my church doors. And everyone went, are you serious? And I went, yes, I am. He's going to be no drinker, no drugs, no cussing, a Christian man, goes to church. And I just pretty much gave up. So 2.5 years of no dating. his brother went to my church, and sure enough, Easter Sunday, I'm up on stage, singing the Easter songs and leading worship. And I met him after the service because his brother invited his siblings to church. And I didn't think anything of it, but he kept coming to church. And I went, okay, well, keep proving it to me, dude. So after 6 months of coming to church, we kind of got to know each other a little bit. He ended up showing up at my apartment. And my son came upstairs and goes, Mom, Geryl's here. And I went, he is not. Knock it off. Well, yeah, he was downstairs. And we talked for hours and hours. And we've been together ever since. We dated for 6 months. And we found this house. I was already looking for a house to buy. So we found this house and we went, well, let's just get married. So we've been together for 20 years now.
Yay. I love that. I was like perusing and, I've been following you for a little bit and I'm like, I don't think I heard that story yet. So
Yeah.
Yay. See, Neil, I got a question that you didn't get.
I was in a transitional phase myself. I already had a job. I had been working for a long time in the same place. So that part was set. But as far as my personal life, I wasn't really happy. I mean, I'm a happy person. I can do whatever, but as far as having a mate or a companion, I just never found that since high school, So I was looking, I was kind of down, not just like Jane. I wasn't meeting the right people or nothing. So I went back to my Christian values as far as being raised by mom and dad. And that's why I accepted my brother's invitation to go to church.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all divine timing right there.
Yep.
And then you took one look at her and you're like, I'm coming every service. That's really sweet. So did she have you at ladies and gentlemen, or what was your opening? something made him swoon.
Like the movies, had me at hello.
Yes, that's what I was referring. Well, gosh, that could segue to movies. Before I do that, though, I see someone. Hello, other than our buddy Neil, there's someone else here from the UK. Hello, welcome to the show. Is it your pal, Elena?
I see Elena.
Yeah, Elena's in there. Professor Bauer, Robert, he's in here.
I see them all in there. But UK has a question. Any thoughts on UAP, UFO revelations? Oh my, we're going to have a lot of those, I think. So we'll throw that juicy out there. We'll probably keep circling back to that. Yes, hello, Professor. Hello, welcome to the show. I missed that. I didn't scroll down enough. And have I been saying your name wrong all this time? I've been saying Elena, and it's not, is it? Elena.
It's Elena. Elena. I think Elena.
Sorry, pal, if I got that wrong.
Oh, it's just like Geryl and Geryl. You go with both.
Oh, yeah. And it sounds like you hit the goal, the jackpot, Geryl. No more lizard chicks. You got
no more lizard chicks. Yeah. That was quite a story,
that was a juicy. Yes. I mean, if you want to share that a bit, here's where I was trying. This is where it got tricky, peeps. A lot of y'all I know from Midwest Night Watchers channel, or, Professor Bauer and Terry and everybody. So I know we circle around some of our similar stories. So if you share some of those, I'd love to, because I'm going to throw in some curveballs at you. I'm going to bring it back to the Cubs and throw some wild pitches. But you did. You were on a date, right? And you turned to her randomly, and she had shapeshifted.
Yes. So we like I said previously, and I've told this story before, but every once in a while, some new insights come up, and every time I start remembering stuff. But I was dating a girl in high school, and we had been going steady, or however you want to call it, for quite a while. We were all the way through high school. She's younger than me, so when I left high school, she was still in high school. So we went to prom and all them dances like for 6 years.
Wow.
So I brought her as an underclassman into our world, and then when she became an upperclassman, we were still together. But we'd always go out every weekend, just like young people do. We'd go to the movies or the pizza place or whatever. Well, we're on our way to a movie. And as I remember, it was a Saturday night. And she lived out in the country. So she was several miles out, so it was hard for her to go home and get ready and stuff. So she'd always bring her clothes with, and she would be at my mom and dad's house, you know, being in high school and stuff. So she would change there and we'd eat or whatever, or we'd go out to eat. Well, we were going to go out to eat that night. And we were heading to the movie theater or wherever. And as soon as we turned the corner away from my mom and dad's house on a small street, I look over because we're talking to each other on the way, you know, just normal chit chat that couples would have. And when I looked at her, it's like, that was not her. She was not physically the person that I was in the car with, just having a conversation with. And it just shocked me so much. You know, I got the hairs on the back of my neck, the goosebumps on the arm. It's like, she looked like a witch. I mean, I ain't kidding you. I didn't necessarily feel an evil presence, but that's the image that was being projected to me, or that's what I was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So I obviously just went right back to the road, staring straight ahead, like, you know, trying to figure out what am I going to do? What's going on? You know, and I finally calmed down, you know, after just a little bit. I said, all right, well, I'll look back. So I looked back and it was my girlfriend again. It was just like nothing ever happened. But obviously she knew something was up because she was kind of like, why'd you turn away like that? Why were you so abrupt?
You shift. Yeah.
I looked different to her as far as my mood change, you know, obviously. But I didn't bring it up. I didn't say, you know, we just went about our business and had a wonderful night. And I don't know what happened during that time or why it happened. And it was that time and one other time with another woman later down the years. And I'll get into that later or after we talk about this one a little.
Sure. Well, when I first heard that, I had already heard about you with that experience of like the jester when you were little. So it made me think, if you were already having those experiences, you were already piercing the veil there. Were these things able to come in and just hijack these bodies? Were they cutting close to you because you could see through the veil? I always wondered if there was a relation of that sense. And my two-part question. And then with that being said, when you guys met, Jane, were you already, I don't remember your first tale of the paranormal. Were you already involved with that? Or when you had heard his stories, were you like, this is crazy? Or were you like,
I never
more?
knew this story. I never knew this story until recently, actually, when he's starting to share it.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was kind of into the paranormal, but you don't talk about that stuff in church.
Right. I was going to say. I was like,
I mean, we didn't really share our previous things because I mean that's just like I don't know. It can be not between us, but it could be a subject that could get in between you, you know, old boyfriends, old girlfriends, or even though this was a cool story about paranormal and that's how it came up because we started doing our podcast. And I thought, you know, once in a while I'd open up and share a little experiences. Jane would share hers, you know, so she actually heard it the first time while I was talking about it on air. So,
oh, wow. Oh, no. What'd you do? Like, is that why you started taping in separate rooms? No, I'm just kidding. Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a juicy one. So speaking of, Geryl, you're a lifelong experiencer. You've had these kind of paranormal experiences as a baby, really, toddlerish, you know, teenish and adultish. And you've been in that part of Illinois your whole life?
Yes, I was actually, this is a town that we live in that I was born and raised in, and I've never ventured off too far. I mean, once in a while I had moved to a smaller community, you know, as an adult, you know, to go to work or whatever, but it didn't last long. And I always came back home and now we're here to stay.
Ah, well, there you go. Another circle back to the Midwest thing. Isn't that it? Where the family roots are, you always circle back and gather up. Or a lot of my friends from high school and stuff, they're still in the hometown. So, Jane, what about your family? You're not from Henry, though, are you?
No, I'm closer to Peoria. It was a small town on the other side of the river of Peoria. And that's where I was born and raised. And I came to this little town because of a college classmate. And that's where I met my second husband and just ended up staying in this little town. I have no family around here. My two sisters are in Phoenix and my brother is up in Montana. And I went to Arizona for a year and a half. I did not like it. I just didn't like the heat. I missed the 4 seasons. I missed the corn growing. So
Yes.
yeah, we ended up moving back, and so
Yeah.
that marriage failed anyway, and then I ended up being the single mom until I met Geryl.
Aw. Yeah, those seasons. That was my first
Mhm.
that was the hardest thing moving out here. I'm on my 24th year here,
Oh
which is
wow.
crazy. But I remember first moving here and having the sun all the time, and I was craving a rainy day. I just wanted like a chill day to watch a show or something, but it was always sunny, so I felt like I got to go do something. You never know when it's going to be this beautiful again, and go 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 until I crashed, and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, they don't have like seasons." You have to drive out for that. But yeah. Oh well. But now I dig the mountains and stuff. So more Midwest, a little more the Great Plains. It's a little flat. But
Yeah.
it's the heart of the Midwest that you can't beat. There's what other traits? There's humbleness, there's the hard work. The work ethic, I think, is extraordinary. Now, either that's just old school Irish blood or what, but I know, Geryl, you've been hardworking forever, and you were in the car industry too, which is huge in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When did you go into that? Was it
Oh,
Mitsubishi?
I was
Right?
in my early 20s. I was out of high school, and I was actually going to become an Illinois state policeman. And that was it was either a lawyer or a policeman. And I chose the policeman, even though I would love to be a lawyer, and I've studied all that stuff. But anyway, I decided I was going to be an Illinois state policeman. So I went to college. I got my degree in law enforcement or police science is what they called it in our area. And so I just waited my time till I turned 21 because you have to be 21 to apply for the Illinois State Police. Well, I went through that whole process, got all the way through, and I got accepted as far as my tests and all that. And I just finished my physical agility, where you had to run the miles and obstacle course and all that stuff. And I passed that. Then I got a letter in the mail saying I didn't qualify on one of my tests. It's like, no, I got the letter saying I passed. So I questioned it and all that. And it ended up being a quota that they had to fill. So they bumped people up above me. And I'm not going to go into the whole thing because that's not what this show's about. But so I moved on. I'd been in nuclear field for security there. I was, and right before it was getting ready to go federal, I left that because my father passed away. So I moved back home, which, living up there by Chicago, I was actually up there just south of Joliet at the nuclear plant, Braidwood, Illinois. And so when Dad passed away, I was getting ready to move up the ranks. I was going to become a lieutenant in the security because they had all the grades just like the military or the police. And I already had my path set out, and I had somebody getting ready to retire, and they were going to give me his job. He was going to promote me to sergeant, then lieutenant, and be in charge of training because he just liked me so much. And that happens a lot. That's another synchronicity we'll have to go back to. I'll tell you about that stuff. But then I got, I'm sitting there, and Dad was still alive at the time. And he goes, it's in the paper, and everybody's talking about this automobile plant coming up, in Illinois. You got to apply for it. Well, I applied, and it was Diamond Star Motors, which was Mitsubishi and a Chrysler combined to make the plant in Illinois. And I just went on my business. I did my other jobs. I was going to work at the chemical plant. That's for my father and brother and all them. And finally, I got the letter, come take the physical or the medical part. So I did that, passed psychological, and they had all this stuff and was passing. So I'm waiting. Never got a letter to say, you're hired or anything. I just kept waiting and waiting. So a friend of mine gave me the HR number. Somehow they got it. So I called them and goes, no. They said, oh, I think we got everybody we need. We're not going to probably be hiring anymore. So I thought, all right, I'll just move on. 2 days later, I got my letter from Mitsubishi Motors that said, you're hired, and this is your hire date. Show up. It was like, wow, I can't believe it. And that's happened a lot in my life where I think I'm not going to get it or something's not going to happen. And then like 2 days, 3 days or whatever, just like I get a confirmation back. Yep, we want you. And it's happened my whole life that way.
Oh, And then you show up, just like Jane. You didn't know you were going to get her, and you just show
Yeah.
up. You're just going to get her. Aw.
I mean, people I've met in my life, like even when I moved out of Henry and went up north to Princeton, the next closest town, which is on I-80, and I started going to a dentist there in a small town, and he was an old guy, and he had his own practice, and he did everything from root canals to pulling teeth. Unlike you have to go to specialists now to do that, but he did it all there in his office. He goes, I'm working at Mitsubishi still, making a good living, making cars. And he goes, hey, how about you come in to practice with me, and I'll send you to school, and you'll just take over the practice, and I'll retire, and we'll work on each other's teeth. We'll have, and it's like, I'm sitting here talking to him and said, man, I'd love to do this, but how am I going to do this? I'm divorced. I have 2 kids. I have a child payment. I have a high seniority at this automobile plant because I've been there since it opened. I said, how am I going to go to school and support my children and take on this new career? So I didn't do it. But stuff like that, just like the security guard, the dentist. I mean, there's been other ones just like that where they give me the opportunity, and it's like, I mean, I should have done it.
Always offered. Well, no, should have, but how nice to be able to have that, a choice.
Yeah, I don't think, obviously, I don't think if I would have took those other opportunities that I wouldn't have met Jane. I wouldn't have been there. So obviously, I had a path that I had to follow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. So it might have been one of the dark bits jumping in. Let's distract him.
try to get me off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, you never know. We always keep circling to the paranormal. Those are those questions. You're like, you never know.
I mean, the same thing right out of high school. I was a pitcher on my baseball team. I played baseball and basketball in high school, lettered all 4 years. Well, actually, one of them I lettered from sophomore on, and the other one was freshman on. So I was a freshman playing on varsity, and there was quite a few in my class that were good enough to do that. But right out of high school, I got an invitation to go to an open tryout for the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were having,
I didn't know that.
Tryouts in Illinois. I had a 96-mile-an-hour fastball as a pitcher, and I could play center field. I could play anywhere in the outfield, and I played third base. But my main thing was a pitcher.
Wow.
But, once again, I didn't go.
Oh, I have a lot of those. Yeah.
I thought, I got in my own head and thought, I love baseball. I would have loved to have done it, but I'm getting my own head. It's like, I'm not good enough. I'm on a small little team, and, I didn't have any scouts or anything, but yet I got a letter somehow, or invited to it. So, but that was another moment I probably should have, but I probably wouldn't have been on the path.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going down those should have passed dangerous, because then you forget all that you have now. You might not have it. So, yeah. Aw. Well, Jane, when you hear that, are you like hubba hubba?
Yeah. Like, I didn't know that.
I'm doing a quick shout out to the chat. I think we missed a joke here. Something they're saying, we haven't caught on something. Something went down. Fill us in, guys. I don't know what you're talking about.
Either Neil or Moon. What did they say?
Howdy, Moon. That's how the universe works. People, things, and situations just show up. Absolutely, Neil. Swing. That's our little bit.
Yeah.
Good things come to those who wait. Yes, Wayne's World. I'll be taping with Neil this week too. So we're all see, it's family online too. But that's another thing to share about the Midwest Love and Support is the community building online. We're not all physically together, but it creates a little family online.
Right.
So yeah. I think that's really sweet. When did you all start your channels? And Chio, you were first, right? Wasn't your music first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I've got another channel that I don't promote, which after we stopped going to church, because I was a worship leader for 20 years, and we stopped going to church, and we're never going to go back to the building. We still believe, and I still have strong faith, pray all the time, but the organization I don't agree with anymore. But I missed playing guitar and keyboard and singing because that was my life. So, but I had stage fright. I didn't want anyone watching me. I never once performed. I only
Really?
worshiped, led worship. So the congregation sang with me. You never saw me up on stage as a solo.
Okay.
So that was out of my comfort zone. But I felt the Lord telling me, start a YouTube channel. And I went, no. But then nobody would really, I don't know them. They don't know me. I'm not seeing them watching me. So I just started uploading videos of me singing some of my favorite songs. And so that was, I'm not sure, maybe 10, 12 years ago. So then
Really?
after that, that's when I started Chiro
Okay.
Sounds with the singing bowls and stuff. And I went, okay, now I'm going down a different path. That some Christians looked at me like I lost friends, believe it or not, because I was collecting singing bowls. Like, ooh, I mean, they were bad stuff, like, oh,
Really?
Buddhists, So yeah, I was
Oh,
getting into crystals and singing bowls, and they all just kind of, you know, shied me away.
that's a
So I
shame.
started
It's
my
music.
Chiro Sounds, and Chiro is actually, it came from one of my favorite songs back in the early 1990s, and her name is Iona, and she's from the UK area, and it's like a Christian Celtic rockish group. And that album was called Book of Kells, and they had songs like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and there's all kinds of drums and all kinds of cool things. And her voice is phenomenal. And one of my favorite songs on that album was called Chiro. And so Chiro actually is Greek for the first and last letter of the Greek alphabet, which means Alpha Omega. So when I started my singing bowl physical therapy, that I put singing bowls on the body and over the head and feet, Chiro to me, instead of the beginning and end, was head to toe. So that's where I
Ooh,
came up with Chiro
cool.
sound therapy.
Ooh, and when was that? That was
And
still
that
10
was,
years, 10 years ago?
shoot. No, the singing one is about 12 years ago. Chiro's
Okay.
I started probably about 7 years ago. And then after that, we started doing the orbs and stuff. And that's when I started Midwest Night Watchers, and Geryl helped me with some editing and stuff. And so then
And then it
Midwest
took
kind of
off
took
from
off.
there. And
Yeah.
then you went
And
into
I'd be
those
in chat.
communities. Mhm.
I'd be in chat on YouTube for years, but nobody would really say hi. Nobody would respond back to me. So I would just watch these shows. And then all of a sudden, there was a few shows that people were starting to say hi, and I got to know more people. And so there for a while, I was doing Midwest Night Watchers and Chiro because I thought maybe Chiro was scaring people off. They didn't like my name because I think they thought it was like Chi, New Age Chi.
Oh.
So then all of a sudden, Geryl came home, and I'm in these chats, and I'm under Midwest and Chiro trying to see if people will say hi to both of me. And then he started talking under Midwest. And so then I stuck with Chiro. He stuck with Midwest. He started enjoying these chats, getting to know people. And that's where we went from there. So we were mainly in chats, getting to know friends. And then people were saying, well, you guys need to do a show. And we went, we're not going to do a show. Well, here we are. A year later, we're doing a show.
Yes. And well, I was going to say, it's so funny when you were bringing up Chi. That sounds like Chi. Remember, I asked you, I thought it was about Chi-Town.
Yes, a lot of people
CHI. I'm
think
like, oh,
Chiro
she's
was because of
referencing Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, it's not because of Chicago. Nope.
So now I know you do all these instruments and beautiful things, but the $1 million question from Neil in the UK right now, but
Oh.
can you play chopsticks? That's what he's saying.
Chopsticks. You mean on the piano? Yeah.
Probably means piano. I think he's
I
trying to
think
be funny,
everyone
but
can
it's
play
another dad
chopsticks.
joke.
Yeah. Chopsticks is usually the first thing everybody learns how to play.
Yes.
And then spoons.
And then the spoons. And then
pots and pans.
Yeah. Did you see when I put you in the stories? And I didn't know that song before. It was the song My Sweet Midwest. Did you hear that where I tagged you? I love that. I've been singing that all day. It's like catchy. Because that's what I think of too with the Midwest when we had whether it was in Illinois, we were on like by the Fox River, or in Wisconsin, those little riverboat pubs and taverns and all these things, and then just the local bands. And
Yep.
it's just got that vibe. And then of course you got the Chicago blues and the jazz, and the music is huge.
See,
It's big out there.
growing up in this area and listening to AM radio my whole life, growing up, it was always the 70s gold AM, back when we were growing up, and Lakeshore Drive is just like one of my favorite songs. And it didn't go national, believe it or not. I mean, it made its little trickles out, but mostly it's just a Midwest Illinois thing that people hear about it. You talk about it with other people. It's like, oh, I've never heard that before. It's such a great song about Illinois, and Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago's been put on the map. I mean, movies. I know for me, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That's when I was like, I can't wait to go into Chicago. And then speaking of Lakeshore Drive all the time, we'd go to Baha'i Temple, and then we'd go by the Ferris Bueller house. And it's iconic. It's iconic. Now, how about this? How about these apples? Bears or Packers? Who's your football? You must be a Bear then.
Bears, obviously. I mean, I talked about that before. It's like we picked all the Illinois teams, the home teams, because my family's always been proud to be in Illinois, and we rooted for the team. So it's Bears.
We ain't no cheesehead.
I went full cheese, and I think I did it just to be.
You went full cheese?
I went full fondue, especially in the sports bars. Like when I worked them, I thought I was sassy, and they'd all be playing for. I'm like, I'm a Packer girl.
And you have your cheese hat?
I had.
Did you have a cheese hat?
I had it for a while. Yep, because I was like the outcast, but that was my thing, and I didn't lose tips. I actually got some tips, but it was just because of my dad. I was a daddy's girl, and he was born in Wisconsin, but then raised in Tinley Park in Chicago and stuff. So I just did it for the sass, but. You can't beat the Bears. I moved out here during the Super Bowl shuffle. So I moved to Illinois in 85, born in 74 and came back in 85. So that was the time.
The Bears' favorite season, 85.
Mm-hmm.
The Bears.
I tell you though, working in Wrigley, there were seasons though that we could not give Cubs tickets away. Like that was part of my bill. Here, you guys want some tickets? You go across. Nah, we're good. I'm like, now you're like, scalpers everywhere. Sometimes you can't get them. So go Cubs. They're legends.
Your story about being the sassy one in the bar reminds me of my favorite Mark Wahlberg Invincible movie, where the girl he falls in love is a Giants fan in the Eagles Philadelphia area. And so they were all like Eagles, Giants, Giants, get out of here. And those two fell in love and were together.
I would never get away with it now because I'm old. But at the time, I had some sass going on. A little cleavage didn't help either. I mean, didn't hurt. They're like, whatever one you like. And that was my first experience with bookies. But for bookies, I did Kansas City. I don't know why. I thought I was being all right. But I did win some money. So
that image in my mind right now, cleavage and a cheesehead. Okay.
My dad was so proud. But what about so your last live? So you stream a couple times a week. You have your live stream all the time on your property, but you have your Sunday night show, your Tuesday or Wednesday. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Wednesday.
But then
it used to be Thursday. Well, you called it Wednesdays, but it was actually started on Thursday mornings. Like after 12 a.m. because that's when I got off work and we started doing the Night Owl Lounge, where we felt bad because during our person avails, just like this time, you don't really get to interact with chat very often. You're interviewing guests or trying to pay attention, and so we started Night Owl Lounge specifically just to hang out with chat, our friends, the people that subscribe to us. We want to give back to them and talk to them and get to know them better. So that's how Night Owl Lounge started. And it's still that we just brought it back. We were on a little hiatus.
Yep.
Life gets busy and you kind of lose track of things. And we finally realized, like, man, we haven't talked to anybody or been on. So let's get back on Wednesdays like we always did.
It was awesome. It was, I love that. I chimed in then. You did do it around New Year's because I think I chimed in my New Year's with you guys.
Yes.
And it was just chatting in the chat. I mean, that's the community build.
Yeah, we went like 9 hours that night. We celebrated all the way from the East Coast all the way to the Hawaiian Islands.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. Well, speaking of that last Night Owl chat you had, it went all into food. I think I said I had In and Out, and it was just like, So we should talk about some Midwest food just to get people going again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about Chicago pizza and all kinds of stuff that night. Yeah.
And Portillo's, you kind of scooted by, so you guys weren't into Portillo. That was big in our
I-
family.
Yeah, see, well, Portillo's never came down this south in Illinois for a long
So what,
time, but
a year ago, 2 years ago? Yeah.
as kids or whatever, kids, I don't even never even heard of Portillo's or anything. But our
Okay.
kids somehow they got onto Portillo's and they would actually drive all the way up into
Yeah.
Chicago or
They'd
just to
pile
get
in the little
Portillo's.
car. They'd drive
Mhm.
3 hours just to get a hot dog.
85. My grandparents were at one of the original. So I guess one of the original houses with the wiener on top was out
Oh,
there. And
wow.
that was our thing. I mean, it still is when we
Wow.
would go back and visit my gram. Do you know they opened one in Anaheim down here? Of course, because all the tourists. And one craft service I did, we were pretty close to Anaheim. It was Orange County. And my assist ran down there and we did second meal was all Portillo's. And I was like, ta-da! Like pimp. And everyone's like, oh, nice hot dogs. I'm like, the hot dog. I had everything. I had celery salt. I had the works. I didn't put ketchup out. Like I was doing all the things you're supposed to do, and they didn't get it. And I was like, I miss Chicago.
My kids threw a fit that they couldn't have ketchup on hot dogs, and I told them, no, that's not how you eat hot dogs. It's got to be mustard, man. What are you doing?
I love ketchup on it.
So we didn't stay firm. We let them have their ketchup. So,
and then the other one had barbecue on everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Or ranch.
Then it was ranch. Yeah, ranch on pizza. Then the kids got a kick of the ranch on pizza. And I was working at the grade school at the time in the kitchen. And all these kids would ask for ranch during pizza day. And I'm going, ew, what's with this ranch? And then everybody just started the ranch with pizza.
I'm giggling you, and then Moon caught my eye. Lesson learned from cleavage didn't help is to not go to a gay bookie. Good call. Yeah, there are some juicy nuggets here. Someone screenshot these, please, because I can't focus. Well, Portillo's also had Italian beef. That was a family divide too. You got the hot dogs or the Italian beef, and that was our war. So,
when we went up there to eat for the first time Portillo's, I think we got one of everything. We got the roast beef, we got the hot dogs, we got the hamburger, and all the sides. So we sat around a table, us and the kids, and we all just tried little bits of everything, just to try it out. But now it's down here. Now we can go to Peoria, or we go to Bloomington, Illinois, and go to Portillo's. But they sold the franchise. Somebody told me it doesn't taste the same anymore.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I thought it was still in the family.
I think some of the family is still involved, but I think a big corporation actually bought the name and the business.
So there's probably
Hi, Chastity.
Chastity, I didn't scroll far enough yet. I didn't scroll. I'm getting there. Hey, thanks. Welcome to the show. Subscribe, hi, that. Thank you, pal. Appreciate that. Pineapple on pizza, yeah or nay? It depends, Neil.
Neil started it. Yeah, now we got the pineapple.
Yeah, we've had that discussion on ours, and we've seen it in other chats too. But yeah, I'm not a Hawaiian pizza. I don't like pineapple on pizza, but my daughter would get it.
And I tried it. It wasn't bad.
Yeah. I won't order it, but if it's there, I'll eat it. If it's pizza, I'll eat it. Pretty much.
No, our go-to is just thin crust, if it's a local place or certain places like Monocle's. We have Monocle's here. And I don't know if it's spread out through the nation, but definitely here around our southern Midwest, lower than Chicago, you have Monocle's. Okay. And they have the best thin, but I don't like their thick.
Okay. But you got to get thick, right?
Yeah. So if I go, our local pizza place is usually the picture that I always share is a thick crust pizza. It's a Priazzo. It's a stuffed pie, basically pizza pie. And that's our favorite. We used to get it quite often, but now we kind of slowed down. We just get it on special occasions or feel like that. Yeah.
That's the best. Our other family war is Lou Malnati's versus Giordano's.
Yep.
And it was the Lou's for the sausage, the Giordano's for the spinach. It's always particular where it is. And that was the biggest other disappointment moving out here 24 years without best pizza, because I cannot for the life of me find really good pizza. Joe Montana, who went to DePaul, where I went in Chicago, he came out here, he's an actor, and he opened Chicago Pizza. And I got so excited. I went there. It was like, this was like before the kids were born, like 15 years ago, like $40 for a small. I'm like, I could FedEx a Lou Malnati's for cheaper. And I was just floored. And they have to ship in the water or whatever they had to do. And I'm like, no, you're just gimmicky.
So
You're ripping them off.
I think Lou's has an online thing where they'll ship pizzas now, I think.
Yeah. My mom did that to me while I was pregnant. She sent me a few while I was pregnant.
And some grocery store, I don't know if they're the same or not, but some grocery stores have them in their freezer section too, I believe now.
What? Well, I haven't seen it out here. I'm going to look for that. Because it doesn't matter where it is. You can't, if it, like out here, if they say, yeah, it's a Chicago style and you order it, they just tripled up the dough and there's no taste to it. There's nothing.
Right.
I'm like, you didn't do it right. It's called a pie for a reason. So yeah, pizza is like you get people going on that one. I think it's
growing up, we didn't have a pizza place anywhere in our area. I mean, we didn't have Chinese, we didn't have fast food, we didn't have anything in our little farming community. I mean, like I said, you had to go to Peoria, like 50 minutes away, 50 miles to go there.
Is that because all the home cooking and the family meals and Sunday meal? Yeah.
You know, because I grew up, my mom and dad obviously were in town already, but they were both farm kids. They both lived out on farms growing up in their childhood. So all our aunts and uncles and all them had farms. So we'd go out there, especially Aunt Helen's and Uncle Richie's. We'd go out their farm. They were the most successful. They had the biggest house, nicest farm. And we would have, Uncle Rich would take us out as kids and we'd go milk the cows and get the milk and make our own cream. Then eventually we'd make ice cream. And so we'd have fresh ice cream at all birthday parties, all anniversaries and out there at the farm. And we'd have fresh steak from the cows. And so all the women, would be the women and kids would be snapping beans, throughout the day and get ready for the party. And so we had everything that was processed and done right there on the farm. And that's how we grew up our childhood.
Oh, that's
doesn't seem like families get together anymore these days.
I know. I was just chatting with my mom today, which was the first time in a long time. Our family divided a lot once my dad passed and through the 2016-2020 time. There was you either spoke up and defended yourself or you didn't, and it caused a division. So I miss the family gatherings and brought it up again. So just times they are changing. So that's why, again, circling back to this online community, it's starting to feel like family. I mean, you guys have called in and checked on me. You guys have been like, hey, this would be a great guest, or how's it going over there? Or, get me Dan Aykroyd on the phone.
Yeah. Please.
Yep.
It's not manifesting.
So that's still high on my bucket list, but if it happens, it happens. It don't, it doesn't. Because I enjoy the guests that we have or the community that we have, talking to you and Robert and everybody that's in chat that we've got to know. I mean, I'm fine with that if it never goes any further than that. If we don't ever grow any more than what we have, although we have reached 1,000 subscribers. So
congratulations! Yeah, that was just this last week.
Yeah.
And if by chance Dan Aykroyd is listening, call us, please call us.
And he was the infamous Chicago fella, and this could come back to the Murrays.
Yeah, because I'm a big Blues Brothers fan. I grew up watching Saturday Night Live just like everybody in our generations, and I watched the originals, growing up. I stayed up late just to watch them back in 75.
Oh, and then I'm born 75. I mean, I grew up with the comedy in the late night and all that. Just a lot of talent comes out of Chicago. And that's where I got the bug for it, is to go downtown and try my hand at it, and tried to carry it out here. And then I was old in my 30s. Well, yeah, I did.
Were 14 years old when you're in the Groundhog's Day?
That was it. I had to have been 14, 15. I don't even know whatever year that was, but I remember getting dropped off because couldn't drive. So even though I learned how to drive at 13, 14. Could legally drive. Yes. All the movies that were shot there in downtown. And there is something about when you were downtown, where did you see? You were just south of Joliet, you were. But when did you move closer into Chicago at all, Carol? Or was it
No,
the Joliet plant?
the closest I got was Braidwood. I mean, we'd always go into Chicago or we'd go into Joliet, that area. We went to Bulls games, we went to Cubs games, and all that while I was working up there at the security guard. But Coal City and Braidwood are the two places. Well, first I moved to Wilmington, Illinois, where they had the big giant astronaut spaceman there at the local restaurant. That's a good place if anybody's ever been to Wilmington, Illinois. But no, I stayed in that area, that little area. Just kind of like I did back home, I stayed in my even though it was a bigger town than what I grew up in, I stayed in the littler towns, and then I'd go venture off into Chicago if I wanted. But while I was at Braidwood, just to bring up movies, the filming of Trains, Planes, and Automobiles was there when I was in the nuclear security. And I was actually there while they were filming it at the Braidwood Inn, the part of the film where they pull in and the car was set on fire and it's out front, and they backed it into the building and all that. So that was actually the Braidwood Inn while we were there. And then I got offered a job as security for an Al Pacino film that was going to be filmed right there close by. And I didn't do that. I couldn't do it. I was working, and that's when Dad passed away and I went back home. But yeah, there's been two instances I could have been close, and I was there during the filming of Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, but I wasn't security then as far as for the movies, but I did get offered security for the Al Pacino film.
That's so cool. Yeah, the Planes, Trains, that inn, that's with these aren't pillows.
Yeah.
Isn't that scene? Yeah. That's the best. And speaking of Al Pacino, so the mobsters were huge in Chicago too. That was a big deal. That one of those pubs that was on the river, that was known Al Capone. They left the bullet holes in there. It was where the boats, they would escape. And then it was their speakeasy and stuff. You can still see some of all those artifacts and buildings and things. That's the other thing I love with the Midwest. They are keeping a lot of the history there. There's a lot of still, legends and things. You're nearby Starved Rock too, I think, aren't you?
Yeah. We're real close.
Yeah, that was our middle school. That was the pilgrimage they took with every middle school class. You went there and stayed overnight, and it was a big to-do.
Yep, I grew up going to Starved Rock. My parents would take me, and we'd go to the lodge. I think we stayed there a couple times actually overnight, and they would have the Native American ceremonies and the dances in the lodge, and they'd have the fires going during the winter. And so it was a really great memory for me. And I have, I have ankle bracelets with bells on them that the Indians made. I should say Native Americans, but we call them Indians, but Native Americans made. And so I still have them up in our curio cabinet.
Speaking of Native American Indians, huge. I mean, they're the OGs. But you also have, possibly buried pyramids and mounds and a lot of activity in the Midwest. I wonder if that's the old colonials like hankering down with those family values to protect it a little bit, because there's still a lot of family owned property out there.
Right.
Not a lot is taken over, which is good.
Not yet. Yep. There's still got our individual farmers, the families that had them for generations. And, in the mounds, going from Cahokia Mounds in southern Illinois all the way up to where we are, there's a couple of mounds, not big, not civilizations like Cahokia, but we have Indian burial mounds close by us. And then you also can go to Bishop Hills, where there's an Indian Native American settlement that they've excavated.
Oh, around Bishop Hill. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a mound over there.
A lot of rich history over there. I know in Wisconsin too, along the lake there, it's the Ice Age. They have still artifacts and they're still discovering stuff. They just discovered those canoes in the rivers.
Yes.
And like they're dating BC or something. I don't know how they would date that or compare it to anything, but yeah, all these little layers here. Oh, what about Bob with Bill Murray? That's a good one. Those Murray brothers.
Yep, I like the Murray brothers.
I tried to stalk John Murray for John Murray. I can't remember his name now. Who's the brother that stalked me? Who did I try to find on MySpace
You
again?
told us, but I don't remember now. It wasn't Bill.
No, it's John, the old. Well, he had a bar out here in West Hollywood. When I worked at a improv place. That's where he started coming in. But those Murray brothers are something else. And I love that. Speaking of family values, that's the ultimate to see the family value within the industry is they stuck together. I think they bought a golf course. You know, they fund and produce their own stuff, and yeah, it's a tight knit little family unit right there. That's just important. I think that's some lost values that the rest of the country could learn from is the Midwest family values because you have your built-in support system and support team. Yep. And you always have a place to go home.
That's right. You know, we had people helping us out when we started our podcast. We were invited on other people's shows, you know, when we just started out. And then, you know, we were on SOR, or I was to start with, After Hours with Grant Baker. That was the first time I ever did any interview or anything with that. And it wasn't my greatest, but it was my first exposure. But then, you know, other people found us in chat and they asked us on, and we have done the same, whether it was with you or whoever. You know, we invite people on our show and we try to help them out, find other shows to go on, or if they start their podcast like you did, we say, hey, we know this person. He would be great to interview, or she, or whoever it would be. And we try to figure out somebody that would fit, whether it's through paranormal, cryptid, or maybe like your show, it's not necessarily always, you know, a cryptid or paranormal experience. You still might touch on that, but it's just like we're talking here. You know, what's your experience? How did you grow up? What's your values?
I love the human experience. Like, what is the other story? You know, because we'll probably tap into some paranormal, but you know, I'm intrigued. Like, where'd you come from? How'd you meet? What was your first kiss? What's your favorite food? Like, it just rounds out somebody a little bit.
You know, it's just like The Jerk. You know, Steve Martin. I grew up a poor black boy.
That is such a good movie. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we go on for days with the movies. That's for sure. Speaking of, someone had wrote in the comments about the drive-in stuff. Do you know I have Jessica and Barry coming on? Not this next week, the following. And we're going to do cryptids from the drive-in movies and old drive-in tales and stuff. So, yeah, we had a couple drive-ins out by us. They're gone now, out there towards Elgin-ish area. And then Wisconsin, I think they're still there. There's one in Door County that's still there. Do you guys have any drive-ins? Was that a thing in your area?
We had one down by Pekin for a while, but I think that finally closed up too. I think they all closed up.
Yeah, we went as kids. Mom and Dad would take us to Peoria to the drive-in, and I think I saw Jungle Book there, Herbie and the Love Bug. You know, that kind of area, Disney movie stuff. But we never got to go see, you know, Creature of the Black Lagoon or any of that stuff. That's the cool stuff. But but later on, there was a theater, a drive-in that would show those kind of movies, you know. So as a older, you know, young adult, I got to be able to go to the midnight shows, and that's back with the girlfriend, you know, that transformed. You know, we'd once in a while go to the drive-ins there, not just the movie theater, but the drive-ins, and watch some of those old shows.
Drive-ins this is why I could never figure out why drive-ins were going down, because in this age of tech, you could finally hear the movie. Like, you'd get the little speaker box, and and you didn't care because you're just like, I'm at the drive-in. I'm sitting in my car. Like, the quality was not that great, but you still had a blast. Now you could perfectly hear it, and they're shutting them down. I guess the property is worth more or something. But
I have two speakers out in the garage from the old drive-in, because one of my friends got a job with Carasotes, tearing down, you know, old theaters and stuff. And in one of the theaters up in the attic, whatever, they had a big thing of these old speakers that you'd hang on your window with the little knob to hear the movie. You know, it came out of the post right there in your parking spot. So I have a couple of those.
They had those as well at like the drive-in burger spots.
Yes.
Right, with the roller skate girl.
Yep.
You had a drag you would do, because we had one of those too. You just started one end and drive, like cruise.
Yep.
Wait, flirt, you know, do all that stuff.
Yep. So I mean, I'm sure everybody had that in their culture or growing up in their area. You know, there was one specific place. You know, we had the loop we do all the way through downtown. They would go down into the lower park by the river, and you circle up back around the swimming pool and lead you back, and you go the other way. You know, until they made it one way to stop that. I don't think people wanted it anymore as far as the adults or the city council. But I mean, that I cherish those moments. You know, it's Sunday afternoons right outside of town on a big bluff. There was a big long strip out by the farms, and they would have drag races every Sunday afternoon.
We had some of those too. Yeah, that's innocent fun. I think that's pretty sweet. Nowadays, it's either too much helicopter parenting, and they're like, you can't go out of my sight, or they're just too zapped out, and they can't know how to socialize.
Then growing up, the local grocery store, we had two of them in town, and the one was Kelt's grocery store, and they had a pretty good parking lot. And my brother and my first cousin was a drummer, and his band would play on a hay rack right in the middle of that. And they had dances out there on the weekends, and they'd have other bands too. But my cousin's band was pretty prominent in the area at the time, back in the early 70s. And so that was always a fun moment. Mom and dad would take us down there just because it was our cousin. They didn't enjoy the music necessarily because that wasn't their thing, but they would take us down because it was family, and we'd hang out for a while. Then obviously I was too young and I had to leave, but that's a pretty fun moment. You know, it's just like sticking together. Like you said, family, you go support family, even if you don't necessarily agree with it or enjoy it. It's like, hey, you know, this is my brother's kid, and we're going to go check it out.
Yeah. That's been the hardest part living out here. I was telling my mom that again. You know, my kids are growing so fast, and I'm telling them now because next year my daughter graduates 8th grade, and it's a really big presentation at our learning center. So I'm telling them, like, please guys, be here. Just be here, because we went to everything: baptism, christening, birthday, everything you celebrate. And I've been the lone wolf. I guess I've always been with the Packer cheesehead and cleavage, but that's their territory. But now it's like having kids. Now I'm like, oh, I miss that. So we're trying to consider doing summers in Wisconsin. You know, this wasn't the summer to do it, but something's got to give, and it might have to be me. So I'll do that. The Midwest, though. See, I haven't even looked at any of these. I told them I wrote all these little things, and now I didn't think. Was it the actors? But there was a funny bit I was thinking of is, you know, you're talking to a Midwesterner based on the slang they use, or, I mean, even just hearing the accent. When I first moved out here, I was scolded all the time for my auditions for having a Chicago accent. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, I was like,
when I moved to Phoenix and I worked in the mall for a while, that big giant mall in Phoenix, and people would say, you're not from around here. Are you from the Midwest? And I said, how did you know? You have an accent. And I'm like, I do not.
You're like,
I've never thought I've had an accent, you know, until you go to other places. But, you know,
I guess we do have an accent.
It's a little nasally, but they're saying super. Before I say those, I saw Kentucky Bigfoot come in, and Moggs, I see you too. Hello to you guys.
Yeah, hi Moggs. Hi Jim. And Poncho.
Oh, I missed that. Where's Poncho?
Yep,
There's Poncho. I didn't scroll down enough. Hi guys, how are you? Thank you, Poncho. Nice to see you all. Well, it's so funny. I didn't know this was a thing until I asked some of the moms last night at that pool party. But like, even if I run into like a wall or anything, like, oh, sorry, or oops, a really big thing, and everyone's like, why do you say that? And I'm like, I didn't know it was a thing, like OPE, or saying or you betcha. My grandma and I would be like, you betcha to everything. Can you think of any slangs you like to use? Because there's another thing too. They don't curse a lot. I don't think they curse. Well, no, what am I talking about? I was a truck driver in Chicago. We'll say the outskirts of Chicago.
Well, you know, you have your pockets, or, you know, it depends on what age you are. And most people don't curse. I mean, but you might have, you know, like the kids will say freaking, and, you know, there'll be different slangs for that, you know, to kind of cuss, but not cuss. But for the most part, you don't really hear cussing until you get in the bigger cities, or if you go to bars maybe or something. But you know, it's always the big one is soda or soda pop, or, you know, what do you call your soft drink?
Yep. That was it. I actually taught myself to say soda when I moved out here because I got so sick of people saying, "Where are you from?" When I'd be like, "Hey, I'll get a pop," or and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you're so cute. Where are you from?" Like, tell my story over and over again. And then you go to the South, and then isn't everything like Pepsi or something?
Coke.
Like
It's
Coke.
all Coke.
If you
Oh,
go
yeah.
to the South and no matter what it is, Coke is just a general term for a soft drink.
soft drink.
So that they'll they say, "What do you want?" And I say, "I'll take a Coke." Yeah, but what do you want? You want Pepsi, root beer? So it's not necessarily just a Coke product.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
even tea. Tea is either tea or sweet tea. I went into McDonald's. We had a bunch of friends down there in Baton Rouge. We went down to visit. I asked for an iced tea. They all started laughing at me. They said, "It always has ice. We call it iced tea up here."
Uh-huh.
They just call it sweet tea down there. They
Sweet
said,
tea.
"It always has ice."
This tea,
They all
it's
laughed at me.
automatically assumed it's going to be iced.
Yeah. We
And
call
their
it
sweet
iced
tea
up here.
It's thick. Like that sweet tea is like, whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You have to
syrup.
bite it. Speaking of, that's like molasses. That's what my folks would always be like, "You're as slow as molasses." And that seemed like to be a saying or something.
Then we do cookouts. We don't do barbecues. We don't, so everybody has their own terms for the same thing, or grilling, we grill, or so it's like it's all those little nuances and differences depending on where you go, or if you invite friends over, they might be from the East Coast or the West Coast, or a state over, don't even say the same.
Right.
We learned that with our road trip, the 16 states last summer. And I tell you, you knew that when you were crossing into the Midwest, though, just by the tellers you'd meet or exchanges you'd have with the cashiers and things, there's a politeness. There's there's manners. And I mean, could that go all the way back to colonial even? I mean, there just seems to be, there's eye contact. Yes, ma'am. No, sir, those kind of things, which you'd think
I think
was
it
the
goes
South.
back to
very Midwest.
the Bible Belt. They called the Midwest and all that, the whole area through several states. The Bible Belt, and I think it's just a Christian upbringing, the politeness and to be kind to others, and then you get down into the southern states for just hospitality. They're
That's
Here
funny.
we got some from the South. 8 and howdy. I do howdy all the time in the chat, but mostly be silly. But I guess I do. Hey, my grandpa would always correct me because we all the kids and grandkids would say yeah, and he'd go yes. He'd say yes, like stop. We go yeah. And he'd be like yes.
Well, see,
Not like yeah.
Growing up, my mom's side was Swedish, 100% Swedish, and when they moved here, and my grandma on the Adolfson side when she answered the phone, it was always yeah, because that was Scandinavian. That was the Swedish part. Yeah. So it wasn't, she wasn't being disrespectful or wasn't out of the thing. That's just the way they talked. It's like
big Swedish community, Midwest too, right? Swedish, German, Irish.
Yeah, you get up towards Rockford, it's a big Swedish community, and on my mom's side, obviously, all the 8, all the uncles and aunts were all Swedish, 100% Swedish. So, and we go up, to Rockford or in other states, to have other cousins and relatives, and it would be the same thing, big potluck, and everybody made homemade food. So it wasn't nothing catered or brought in. It was all family food. So it was on the Swedish side too, from my mom's side.
Yum. Ooh. Yeah, this big Swedish in Wisconsin too, like Door County there. It's a lot of Swedes. And German everywhere. I see you, Roger Blair, too. Did I miss that? Oh no, I just put in Pennsylvania, some say crick. Oh, that's what my dad did.
We say crick. I don't say creek. I say crick.
That's my dad.
Yeah,
and we'd always tease, but I miss it. I'd give $1 million to hear that again.
Well, we said creek only because the right here in Henry, we're on the Illinois River, and the biggest
like Sandy Creek.
This is Sandy Creek. Yeah. So that's the only reason why we'd say creek, but actually creek and crick are 2 different things. If you look them up definition wise.
Oh, are they? Well, not the spelling why. Crick and creek. Crick in the neck.
Crick or holler.
Huh. Well,
Yeah, we had hollers. We have Wolf Hollow.
Yeah,
We don't call it holler, but it's hollow.
Hollow. I miss the Midwest. Now I'm like, me. let me circle back.
Well, I'm sure there's other things that we say, but I don't really personally know because they're just ingrained in us until we go somewhere else, and then somebody enlightens you that, oh, you say that different than us.
Well, and then you get to Southern Illinois, they start getting into a drawl down in Southern Illinois. There are more hillbillies down in Southern Illinois, and Chicago people
don't be
think
starting to fight
south
calling
of
them hillbillies.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, everyone in Chicago thinks Southern Illinois is everything south of Chicago.
Yes,
well,
that was my other bit. It's like when you say you're from Illinois, like Chicago or not.
Yeah, Chicago or not. Yeah.
Yeah, because I love those memes where they say, you're from Illinois, and they show a picture of Chicago, but underneath and no, I mean, and it's all cornfields and plains.
Yeah.
They assume you're on a farm.
Yep, but that's not necessarily true either, because down around us we have hills and we have valleys, and majority of it is flat, or they've flattened it out for farmland. But there's still, I mean, you go up towards, like you said, Starved Rock, and Matheson State Park was a big one for us, because our high school graduation parties was always at Matheson. The next day we'd camp out and spend the night there.
Yeah, we went to Matheson more than Starved Rock. I enjoyed Matheson and going on the horse trails and seeing the caverns.
Everybody went to Starved Rock. That's where all the tourists would hang out. So we would go to Matheson, right over, same area, and not as populated, and you can just wander off and get lost, and not have to worry about crowds.
Yeah, Matheson had a lot of dells and some waterfalls, which is very odd for Illinois. I think that's the only place in Illinois that has landscape like this. It's a really unique place. It really is.
That's kind of like Galena too, right? Galena has a bunch of hills.
Yeah.
That was, my folks really liked going out to Galena and stuff. Yeah, Starved Rocks, that was tourists. That was the field trip central. Like when we'd roll up, there'd be like 50 school buses. And that was the excitement of, oh, there's other children our age. And then you'd all,
our 8th grade graduation party was at Old Chicago when the amusement park was open.
Ooh, oh, that's fun. That's not around, is it? Are you
talking about? Closed down. It got closed down.
That's by Oak Park. Isn't that Oak Park?
Yeah, somewhere up in there. I can't remember exactly where it was, but yeah, we used to go. All of our field trips would be up to Old Chicago for our 8th grades.
Wow.
The 8th grade graduate. Our 8th graders were talking about going to Italy, and I'm like, Italy. Yeah, can we start fundraising, please? How are we going to do that? Yeah, they have big ambitions. So, like, I've never been out. I've been to Mexico once.
Oh my!
It's going to be a big to do. We got 1 year to fundraise, so I don't know what. I think it's wishful thinking, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm like, that's when
a lot of candy bars.
Yeah, I was talking about this last night because there's a couple pals that do watch. They watch replays and they're asking about what today is, and then we're talking about the Midwest. And I talked about Starved Rock. And I'm like, field trip, because these 8th graders, they leave next Friday for Costa Rica. They're going to work on a turtle sanctuary, and they were supposed to go last year. But I'm like, you guys are having these experiences. And I went to Starved Rock, and it was all about the hotel pool after. Like that's what I remember. I don't remember Starved Rock. Oh, that Midwest love. Okay, circling back to the paranormal. And hello, Poops. Hi, Stevie B.
And Stevie B.
Hey, Stevie B.
I'm talking to Stevie B and Mog soon. We're going to do a little chit chat soon too. So that's
awesome.
Super fun. Can't wait to dig into them a little bit more. But I guess let's bring it back to really how and why we met. And that's the paranormal and stuff. Maybe not in your town, or maybe there is, but in the big pocket you're in, are there any paranormal communities, or is everybody online really that you are able to talk about with this stuff?
I don't talk about it.
There is groups in Peoria and Springfield and the larger towns, obviously, but out here where we live, it's mostly online. It's online for everyone.
Yeah, I didn't have too much.
I don't think a lot of people around here believe in it. The farmers, you kind of hint around about Sasquatch or like the witches' knots on their horses, and they don't believe in anything.
Really?
They don't believe
the guy at the grocery store the other day liked your shirt and talked about Bigfoot with us.
Yeah,
Oh,
I did
that's
have my
cool.
UFO and the Bigfoot going like this. And he went, "Hey, cool t-shirt." And I said, "Thank you. I believe in both of them."
That's awesome.
But most
Someone
people, they
recognized.
don't believe in anything like that. I've got a donkey that
Wow.
screams a mile down the road. I know her, the farmer. I wish I could talk to her because I know that Sasquatches are over there, but I'm afraid to bring it up to her. She probably doesn't believe in it.
Oh, jeez. Tell
Is
her,
that
hey, just get a camera out there for fun.
their
See what's
Yeah.
going
horses
on
had
with your
witches
donkey.
knots.
What
Yeah.
was that?
Their
And the
horses
horse
had
that
witches
witches
knots.
What? What do you mean? What does that mean? I don't know
Well,
the
you
Oh,
witch's
don't
it's
knot.
you
braided. It's like braided or like a dreadlock in a horse.
That she
And
didn't do?
no, the
no.
horse owners claim that it's the horses rubbing up against the fence, and that's what causes it. I'm going underneath, and everything else is still kind of
No,
combed
see,
down, and you
they
can
didn't
see the
even
braid
know.
and the dreadlocks and together. So yeah, they're called fairy knots, witches knots, but a lot of people think Sasquatch do it.
Remember when I brought it up to him when I first noticed it, and I said, "Hey Jerry, what's up with the braids?" He goes, "Oh," he kind of looked puzzled and didn't want to talk about it. And he
Mhm.
says, "Oh, I think my granddaughter did it." Well, yeah, your granddaughter is going to reach up on a horse's mane that's taller than
But
I am, and
Yeah.
I'm six
oh yeah.
four.
Which yeah, that I mean, that sounds like some stuff right there. And you've already seen stuff on your property. I
Yeah,
mean, I've seen
and
the
heard.
orbs and things flying by. What's the latest activity you've had? I know you've probably shared, but I'm just asking again. Not in this episode. You've been sharing on other episodes.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you know what I'm sorry to interrupt though, but when you were on Jessica Jones recently, when you were with the Cryptid Huntress, and you
Mhm.
guys had the image of the ring, was that from your house? I missed that part, or is that what was floating around the internet at that time?
The
I
Oh, the
thought you
ring.
Ring
caught it on
camera?
your
No,
camera.
that was somebody else's
Okay,
video, the Ring camera. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, we
okay,
Yeah,
don't have
yeah.
Ring cameras. Yeah.
okay. No, yeah, the
Yeah,
live stream stuff.
That was Jessica's subject, and we just chimed in with what we've seen and
Yeah.
what we've
That was
captured.
it. Okay, that
Yeah, and
was
I
it.
think that was from Texas.
What's the craziest thing you did capture on yours? What is one
Oh,
of the
wow.
craziest things?
We had quite a few crazy things.
Yeah,
I mean, other
name a
than the
few.
orbs and skyfish, of course, when we first caught them, it's like we were amazed and excited, but now it's like old hat. We see orbs and skyfish all the time on our cameras.
Yeah.
But the mothership, the thing that we thought could be either Starlink or a mothership, we kind of left it up to the chat or the people in the comments to decide for themselves, even though we think it is a mothership. That's what we
Mhm.
believe, but we don't
Mhm.
try to put that out there to sway anybody's judgment. But that
Mhm.
was the first video we put up on Midwest Night Watchers. Jane actually filmed it in the backyard, and it's at an angle going down, and then it disappears right over our house.
Yeah, this
Oh,
probably is the
cool.
most bizarre that we actually caught on camera.
And it was
And I
low,
haven't
right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
low. I haven't seen anything low since, and it was 3 years ago since when that happened.
See, that's what boggles my mind with your local farmers. I would think they'd all have stories to tell, unless they just really they don't want to go
I
Yeah.
involved.
I think there's
Get
still a
involved.
stigmatism out here, a stigmata that they don't want to talk about it because it's not prevalent. It's
Right.
still church oriented around our area. Still, people don't want to be considered crazy, or
Hmm.
so I think maybe amongst their family members on the back porches, they probably still talk about that stuff, but out in public or in a public spot, they don't talk about it.
Jeez, yeah,
Hmm.
I get that with religious areas, but I do wonder if those generations are passing down the stories. And maybe
Right.
there's the old grandpa going, and then there's these men in black that come to your house if you tell them. So don't tell them the story. They want to keep their ranches. Is that happening by you at all? I know it's happening a lot in Wisconsin, not necessarily the men in black with the paranormal, but the government coming in and like taking over the dairy farms and getting
Mhm.
their hands in on stuff. Or do you feel most of your farms are family run still?
Around us is still family
Yeah,
orientated and
around
still the
here.
original
Yes.
families. But I mean, we
Mhm.
do see black helicopters more prevalent now than we ever used to.
Mhm.
Down there? Where are they? Yeah, where are they going? Where's that
I see them
from?
quite a
There's
bit.
no major. Wow.
They're
Mhm.
Huh.
And
well,
just the other day, it flew across our field and it was heading towards the river, and it was a totally different route than it normally did. And it was actually heading towards where I think the Sasquatch have been hanging out. And I'm going, doggone it, I hope you guys are cloaked out or gone right now. But yeah, we do see the black helicopters around here.
I mean, a lot of times you'll see the conservation or whatever flying in helicopters along to Illinois, but then all of a sudden you see these unmarked black ones that are following the same route that you would normally see other helicopters use. But now it seems like they're venturing off of the Illinois River basin and coming across fields, and it's like, no, that doesn't look right. That's not the same.
Oof. Well, I mean, as far as even Hollywood with their storytelling, it's always the lone family's farm in the middle of Illinois or somewhere that has the activity or something happen or something hidden.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised. Good question from Neil. Any haunted railroads by you? Did you know?
I haven't.
No, not that I know of.
I know there's a famous haunted cemetery, which is up in Spring Valley.
The cemeteries are a big one.
Kind of well known.
The ghost stories.
That haunted railroad. Well, we're next to a railroad. Who knows? It's probably haunted over there.
We keep looking for a ghost train, but we haven't seen one yet. We've always just normal trains. But
well, there are stories of ghost trains.
Right outside of town was a big farming community called Held, Illinois, which is no longer there. It's now defunct. It's no longer any town buildings, anything. It's just all flat farmland now. But there is a monument there for it. But when the railroad used to go through there, it was a big thriving community. And they had, the blacksmith shop and general stores. I mean, it was a full function. It was like actually the biggest city around for a while. But the railroad changed their routes, more prevalent towards Peoria and Chicago routes. And so that line wasn't there no more. And that town eventually just kind of grew out, didn't exist anymore. So I used to go by that every night at midnight on my way home from work. And I'm hoping someday that town will be there when I would drive by, but so far it hasn't ever happened.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard stories of ghost trains, out in the country, around here in the Midwest, that you hear the train and there's no train. So there is, interesting stories of that.
Yep. We have some of the old, what was it, Harvard? Our big line was from Chicago to Harvard. We were off of that one. There were some tales that people told. You never know.
We had going through Henry. We had Rock Island Rocket, the big train that would come through, and that was a passenger train at the time. Now it's just mainly cargo. Once in a while an Amtrak, but.
Oh, I see a question. Are you seeing those, Jane? What was that about the foxhole with the gremlin?
That is,
let's see.
I went investigating. Geryl fell asleep in the afternoon, and I just kind of went, I want to go investigating. I want to go hunt. So I just kind of took off in the field by myself one day, and I went to invest and try to find deer antlers in the field. And about a quarter of a mile, maybe half, but it's closer to a quarter mile over there. There's a church, but the church is connected to all these fields, because it's behind us. So I go over there and I see this big giant pile of rubble and mud and pine needles. And then I realize there's holes in this thing, and there's a front door and a back door and little peeking areas. And so I just kind of investigated. I said, no, this is not a tree structure, which was not a tree structure. We've had a bunch of bad storms, flat winds that would break half the trees off. So they just kind of piled everything in a big pile in the corner. Well, that kind of created this interesting den, and it's on our channel. And I'm not saying that anything's really living in it. I'm sensing stuff, but Jim's son, Matt, picked up that there was a goblin or a gremlin that was in there that liked riding the foxes. And we think the groundhog is over there, definitely. I don't see the fox a whole lot, so I don't think it's currently used for a fox den. But I'm not sure, but it's being currently used by something. So that's what he's talking about. It's an
I love it.
interesting little area. And I stare over there all the time. And that's where I do hear a bunch of noises.
I just love it. You're like, I'm gonna go investigate. And then you
Yeah.
take off.
And I just took off. And I was kind of frustrated that went, doggone it, Geryl, he's asleep. Now what am I going to do? So I just kind of took off in the field and just kind of went walking that day and started filming. I haven't been back there since. I really would like to. I want to check out what the den looks like now in the spring.
Yeah. Take some pictures.
Yeah.
Take some vids. This was from Poncho Zach. Did you see this one? Missouri Fish and Game Trunks and another truck.
Oh yeah, I was watching that. Yeah, about the helicopters and we're being told that if you see helicopters, yeah, they're hunting them down. You know, they're trying to find them. They're hunting them down, or they're tracking them.
Or tracking, hushing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can be hushing them. That's speaking of Ghostbusters, coming back to their anniversary today of the first Ghostbuster. We did not long ago watch that last one they had, which had to do with, crossing over. And
Frozen.
It was so good. It was really good. But again, that's my image of those Illinois farmlands is what's in those old barns? What are they hiding? It's the last place you'd look. But with all these helicopter activity, what is it? What is going on? What's going on out there? It's not often driven through, those parts of Illinois. So,
yeah, and we have old coal mines here. So Illinois is not necessarily known for its coal. That's more down south, Kentucky and Tennessee and all that area. But Missouri and the bottom half of Illinois, was a big coal industry too. But so even up here where we live, there's some small mines, and I think they're all boarded up or closed or covered up, but the mines are still there if you'd like to look for them. And we have caves up in Starved Rock and Matheson. There's a cave system also. It's not as big as Mammoth Caves down south, but I don't know. Maybe they need to be explored a little more, and there might be a way to get to Mammoth Caves from up here in Illinois.
Would you ever on your go ahead, Jane? Sorry.
I was going to say there's so much forest around here. The farmers own a bunch of forest, and you have no idea if there is a cave or a cavern or anything in some of those forests.
Would you guys ever lead an investigation?
I would go. Yes.
Bring the peeps in though, like they could camp out on your property and then you guys go out.
Well, there was talk of not necessarily going out on an investigation, but there was talk of having a slumber party at our house, and it all came about on the Night Owl Lounge where everybody was so like, "Well, we want to come visit, we want to get to know you, and see what your farm's like or your animals and stuff." So it's like, okay, let's do it. Anybody that wants to come, we're thinking of this summer, and just you can camp out in our backyard, and you could be in the house, be in sleeping bags, be in any of the rooms, the beds. The kids are all gone, so we have a couple extra rooms, and
we don't have a fancy house, but if you're allergic to cats, you can't be here because we've got cats. So
there's something odd about people who are allergic to cats. I always say. I think that's so cool. Yeah, there is something so warm and inviting when you watch your live cams. You're looking for things to go by, but it's cozy. You guys, you can tell, have created a safe space. It's grounded, it's protected. And I'm like, will they host? Cool.
I like my backyard.
We have thought about buying the house next door to us every once in a while. It's vacant now, but it's not really for sale. But we had an opportunity to buy it at one time, and we thought about it, saying, well, let's buy this house so we can have friends and family come over and they can see the same stuff we're seeing in the night sky. But we didn't do it. It's still maybe a possibility down the road, but we're happy with our cameras just showing everything. If people want to show up, we have some yard, and we have, before you get to the field, that you could possibly camp on. And we have a second driveway that you could probably pull a motorhome up in.
Oh, I think that would be cool. We usually cover the outskirts or, the South. The South is covered pretty well, or the major cities. But who's been in the inland and who's been in the Great Plains? And you never
know. Maybe we'll have a Midwest Night Watcher conference one of these years.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, if I could just talk our neighbor into selling this house that she's not living in.
Well, if we get enough people interested, we have a big county fair grounds that's not used most of the time during the year, and
Oh, and they can rent it.
we
Yeah,
could
they
probably
can rent
rent
it.
the grounds, and because there's huge fields that they have for parking, because we have
Mhm.
national truck pulls there, we have demolition derbies there during the fair time, but after that or before that, there's a lot of camping space that we could probably use.
Oof.
Yeah.
This could be manifested. And if we can even, I know anybody can pop in there this summer. I know I can't get out there, so I'm manifesting next summer. So let's manifest. That's the other Midwest trait is the hospitality. I know they say it in the South, but there's also something passive aggressive and tongue in cheeky about the South. But the Midwest, it's like, come on, we'll feed you, or come
Right.
meet my family, or so I'm
Pillow
in.
party at Midwest.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah, pillow party. Yeah, I'm saying. Then Poncho says, "I'm getting a camper ASAP."
Yep. Oh, he's 40 miles south of St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's not far at all.
We're about 3
No.
hours. That's about 3 hours, 3.5 hours to get to St. Louis.
Man, yeah, that little road trip. We went right through St. Louis and went up into Illinois that way.
Yeah,
Oh,
you could have
so
came and
cool.
saw us.
I know. I didn't know you then. I didn't know you last summer. So I guess
Yeah.
that's when it comes back to about this community. And what's this, Professor Midwest? Featuring geezers galore. Oh, look at this. Here's your title. I'll wear that shirt. I'll
Oh my
advertise that.
gosh. Geezers galore.
Hosted by Heidi Pop. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep, everybody can just pop in,
Yes.
pop on
Everybody's
by.
Pop on by. Well, I would definitely would have popped over with the whole fam if we knew coming in. So thanks again. I'll wind it down a little bit, but again, with this community chat and that Midwest love, this is how we're all finding each other. We're supporting
Mhm.
each other. We're lifting each other up. And I mean, I thought it was so beautiful. I remember when you called me and I was like, call? What do I do? Like, who called? Hello? But it was so sweet. And that's the Midwest blood, I think. It's just connection. So thank you, Geryl and Jane, for just being supportive and giving that mom and papa love. That I sure miss out here in the West on my lonesome.
Uh,
I didn't bring my cheese head with me, but I'm going to retire it and get back
Aw.
into some Chicago roots there. But does anyone have any more bits for our little pals here? I know I'll probably see you on their channel tomorrow night, Sunday, 4 p.m. for me. So it's 6 p.m. for you guys. And the lounge is back, right? That's going to be
the
Wednesday
lounge is
nights.
back, and we're doing with Robert, the Geezer Geeks, and we're still tonight. We should be having a
Woohoo!
Geezer Geeks conference with everybody, and you've
Yeah.
been on there, and Chastity's been on there, and Doc Skinner's been on there, and we got Mr. B, Terrence is on there, and Robert, and so should be popping tonight if you're going to be able to make it.
Me? Oh,
Yeah,
shoot,
you.
yeah. Yeah, I should be back by then. Remember, got to go pick up from one of the parties again. The girl just left.
Yeah.
But that'll be fun. I might not be here. If I'm on my phone, I'll make sure I'm in a safe space.
Yes, I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing a Saturday night tonight. And then Sunday,
Awesome.
obviously at 6 p.m. Central is our Piercing the Veil on the Midwest Night Watchers channel. And then Mondays, I'm teaming up with Dennis Carroll, if anybody's heard of him. He's Hunting the Shadow, and he's been on a lot of shows. He's done 50 years or more of investigation. He's always on Jessica, the Cryptid Huntress's show with her. And so me and him are doing a every Mondays on his channel, Hunting the Shadows, at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Every
so
Monday?
we're going to talk
Every
Monday, 9 p.m.
Oh, this is
so
real.
we're
Okay, cool.
talking about the oddball stuff, the stuff that you may have heard of before a long time ago, but forgot, but nobody covers them anymore these days. So last week we did Coral Castle, and let's see, this week we got the mystery staircase at the Loretto Chapel in New Mexico.
Wow.
So that's coming up this Monday, and so you guys can catch us on Hunting the Shadows.
That's awesome. So speaking of, you were also saying with retirement, you can now be putting yourself out a lot more and building all these things.
I think I'm a lot busier now than when I was working, because I didn't really have a lot of extra time, other than traveling back and forth an hour to work and working 8 or 10 hour days. And But now I have it, and we're getting on podcasts. We're having our own podcasts, and just sharing the love and trying to get out there and reach out to the communities. And so, yeah, it's actually pretty busy getting guests together and shows and subjects, and then talking about other stuff on other people's shows. And
beautiful.
And then watching shows and being moderators on shows.
You're moderators everywhere. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's when we met and you made me a moderator. I'm like, they trust me? They trust me? I'm so new. But you did. Here's a Pancho question. NVGs or thermals?
Thermals I'm not familiar with. We still would like to get one eventually. Our night vision, we have the ATN night vision binoculars, which is very nice binoculars. And we also have the psionics. And the psionics is what you will see stars that you are not seeing with the naked eye. I mean, the psionics is amazing. You get on that thing and it's just tons of stars. I mean, I see things moving that you will not see with your naked eye. So yeah, I recommend the psionics, and I do like the ATN night vision binoculars.
And we might be going towards the military spec of like a starlight scope or something that possibly could be coming in the future. And we're definitely going to hook up thermal eventually, so we can see actual thermal images. So we got new stuff coming, but it just takes time and money. So we'll have to roll it out a little at a time,
little bits at a time. But there's part of your itinerary for a hangout, the Skywatch, nightly Skywatch.
Yeah,
maybe with some hand pan in the background. And
definitely. We can have our not necessarily bonfire. We always call them fire pits here, not a bonfire, but sit out around the fire. I mean, that's how we started. We were always out there in the backyard, the kids staring at the stars, having a fire, playing some music, and Jane likes to get out there with her hand pan or even Native American flute and play. We have some videos of that by the campfire, and we just stare up at the constellations, and pretty soon it's like, oh, what was that moving? That looks different.
For years I'd be staring at the stars. All the kids would be hanging out around the fire. I'd be happy if I saw a satellite moved, but years ago I saw nothing moving, not even satellites. And then all of a sudden we started seeing things moving and stuff, and we went, what is this? What's going on? So that's when we invested in night vision, just to kind of see what's going on and checking out deer and fox in the field. I never imagined seeing orbs and skyfish and all this other stuff that we're catching, and all the movement in the sky. Even it's just amazing.
That was after you met Geryl, right? That you started catching all this stuff. Because I'm again with you, going back to the toddler baby. You're already part 1 foot into those worlds, and here it's around you, and now she's it's so cool. I mean, I can't express the thread, but I can see there's a thread to it.
Yes, and I think so. I mean, there's obviously a connection on a soul level with me and Jane, whether we've had past lives or anything together or not. I mean, we've been told that, and Jane deeply believes that we've been connected forever, and so do I. I mean, there's just such a love and a connection between us. And I've had these experiences my whole life, and Jane's had experiences her whole life, and we just found, we didn't even talk about this stuff when we first met or got married.
Right.
It just kind of came out, a little slowly over time, and we both have the same beliefs, and whether it's our Christian values growing up, and now the woo factor, it's all just a common bond.
I should add, we call ourselves supernatural, paranormal, conspiracist Christians. You add all of it together, and it makes more sense.
You have to add that to your merch. Connected. Yeah, there's your merch. You got to have that.
It's all connected. I mean,
it's all connected.
Like we said before, the Christians don't really talk about it, but they actually believe in it. I mean, you have Lazarus rose from the dead. You have Jesus doing miracles. You have Jesus walking through walls. So how is that not supernatural?
Right.
Yes, exactly.
And the paranormal, talking to the witch of Endor. So it's in there. UFOs is in the Bible. I believed in that years ago when my mother came out and says, Read Ezekiel. I looked at Ezekiel, saw the wheel within the wheel, and all the. I mean, I'm going, oh my God, that's a UFO.
I mean, just do a deep dive on Revelation. That'll blow your mind enough.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to even ancient Egyptian script and walls, and I mean the connections to the Bible though are huge too. And then I remember when I started watching Viking shows, and you'd see the Viking and how they lived, and then they'd side screen it with like a Christian ceremony or something, and it's like we're all connected, we're all related, we all just have our own vision of storytelling, I guess. But it's slowly coming together. That's piercing the veil to me. Like you can see through it and you're bringing it together. So you guys do such a good job.
The name of our show, because
Pardon?
I don't think it's pure. We might have to change the name to our show because I think the veil broke.
Pierce the veil.
We're not anymore piercing it. We're actually full blown.
Yeah, we broke the veil.
Down and gone through.
It can be called what veil?
Yeah. What veil?
Yeah, what veil? Paranormal Pixie, just real quick, she's saying she lives by Laredo Chapel. Did you see that?
There
she's
you go. Nice.
She could get you some live footage, or could have gotten you some.
She knows all about it then.
Yeah, she'll chime in the chat then. And Pancho wants night vision that he can wear on his mounted so he can walk. I think you just got to MacGyver that.
No, if you go to Psionics, they actually have a series that's made off the military specs that is actually mounted for a helmet. You can mount it to your hat or a helmet.
Oh, okay.
And it has the same starlight and IR features. It's a little expensive, but it's got great resolution, and it has a capability of recording.
Awesome. Okay, there you go. And yes, Roger Blair, Bible does
Giants
talk about the giants.
Yep.
I like this. We don't call them star seeds. We call them star hobos.
Star hobos, yeah.
I still believe in the Bible and my faith. We just don't believe in the organization. I think it's a mind-controlling, brainwashing government.
So all the man-made rules and all the man stuff, we don't abide by or go by anymore. We know them. But we just try to take the Bible for what it says in our faith, and then we venture out into all these other aspects of the paranormal and UFO and.
That's one of those moments where the chat caught me. I'm like, but I'm reading it. Appers. What is APER? What am I missing? Am I not connecting that? For the apers? What does that mean? I'm missing something. Someone tell me in chat. But he also thought of a good thing to say. I pierced your veil. There's a new title. I'm so certain. Believe the Native American lore. Why are they? I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm confused on that one.
Sure.
Tell me what you mean, hon.
I'm not sure what apers is.
Yeah. Notice there's lots of supernatural places near her in New Mexico. I can imagine. I can totally imagine. Oh, woo, ape or woo.
Oh, like ape
the woo.
Oh yeah, apers.
But for the woo, if they believe Native American, why are they woo? You mean? I think I know what you mean. If there's Native, I figure Native American folklore is almost similar to like Viking in the Bible. Like they have their own set of.
Well, there's prominent Native American folklore or legend, oral history that they tell each other. There's cryptids and Sasquatch and star beings. And I mean, it just depends on what tribe you go to and what their oral tradition and history is that they tell each other. But there's all kinds of gods that came down from or their elders, as they call them, come down, and their guides would come down, and it'd be, avian species, or they just had all these gods or whatever that they were praying to were actually aliens or another species, and they had a big connection with the little people, with Sasquatch and the rock people, and I mean the ant people. So you just got to dig into it, and you got to get a hold of the right person to tell you the story, or you got to find it online and see, okay, what is this true? Is this a lore? Is it?
And there you go. You have to tune up your intuition so you can discern and be like, is this swaying me this way or this way? Much like people were trying to sway you for the work. Pardon?
Upgrade your download.
Upgrade your download and raise that vibration. That's
Yep.
Miss Jane.
Right.
Keep that
Keep the
vibration high.
vibrations high.
Yes. Well, I don't have you guys in the chat to put your link in the chat, and I would have done that for you, but I wasn't thinking. So, folks, I know you know where to find them.
I'm pretty sure almost everybody that's in chat right at the moment
Yeah.
probably has been there or
Yes.
knows.
And
But
speaking
if they
of-
haven't, they can go to Midwest
Oh.
Night Watchers on YouTube and Rumble or wherever you can find it. It's all the same across the socials, Midwest Night Watchers, and it's midwestnightwatchers@gmail.com if you want to get a hold of us or send us an email.
And Midwest Night Watchers at Gmail. That was it.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Yes, thank you. I know. And then for that being said, thank you so much, community chat. I have met you through Geryl and Jane. So this is an honor and a treat. Thanks for helping support this channel and helping me grow. And I really appreciate that. So I do love playing and doing this and talking to you guys and hearing these stories, because now I have some fun callbacks for you. So now I'm gonna
There you go.
I've got to know a little bit more about you guys, and that feels good. So thanks for bringing the Midwest love today. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you to the chat, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you tomorrow night in their chat on Midwest Night Watcher, 6 p.m. Central.
Or tonight on Geezer Geeks.
Or tonight on Geezer Geeks. Sorry, Prof.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
I got to get on Geezer Geeks.
Either Robert's channel or Geezer Geeks. It won't be on Midwest Night Watchers. So it's
Okay.
either on the new Geezer Geek channel or Robert's channel.
Which is Rumble, too. It's Rumble
Yes,
and
Rumble.
YouTube,
Rumble
right?
and YouTube.
Yes.
And of
Sorry
course,
about that.
Robert's on X, and I mean, he's got like five platforms that he does: Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, X.
Mhm.
But
That's
his
where this is going,
is the
so-
Nexus or Nextcast. So you have to look up
Okay.
Robert Bauer on the Nexus.
Okay. Yeah, I added Twitch back here. So there's some gamers going like, did they just say Bigfoot?
No. Yeah.
Hi,
We
Twitch.
tried the Twitch thing. Yeah.
You never know. Spread the word. Okay.
That's right.
Cheers. Cheers, everybody. See you later tonight in the
Love
chat.
and peace, everybody.
Keep
Bye,
your
guys.
vibrations high.